Welcome to the Financial Flossing podcast with Brannon, guiding dental professionals to a brighter future. Brannon is a financial advisor who knows it's not just about your teeth. He helps dental practice owners protect and maximize today's cash flow to plan for tomorrow's cash needs. Find him at rossbrannon.com. On the show, he brings together experts to help dental professionals looking to make smart money decisions to grow their income, turn their retirement goals into reality, and improve their lives. And now, here's your host, Brannon.
Welcome to the show. My guest today is Kyle Roth. Dr. Kyle Roth has been a practicing dentist since 1999 and has owned and operated 34 practices since graduating from the University of North Carolina. That's right, you heard me correct, 34 practices. He is the founder and owner of Encompass Dental Transitions, one of the fastest growing dental transition companies in the United States. Today, he's our guest on Financial Flossing. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
All right, so we got to jump right in here. You started out as an accountant and you saw the error of your ways. That's a joke. And you said, I want to go to dental school. And you came out of dental school, so you were kind of like older guys in your class. And next thing you know, you own 34 practices. So I know it's a long story, but kind of give me the Reader's Digest version. How'd that happen?
Well, I'll try to make it as quick as possible. And it actually was 36 practices. I've got four remaining. I've sold 32. But I graduated an older student and one of the oldest in my class. And I was a hockey player. I've been in and out of dental offices my whole life. And I kind of watched the dentist of my local dentist I was going to see. Every time I went to see him, he was kind of a cool guy. And I said, I wish I had done something like this. He talked to me and he said, 6 more years of school for you to go back. He goes, I could do that standing on my head. If this is something you want to do it. Long story short, I go back and graduate and realize that, I'm not going to have as many years in my career as everybody else. So I need to hit it hard. I built a beautiful practice, right at graduation time, moved in there, and the practice was getting busy very slowly, but it was getting busier. In the meantime, I was moonlighting in a different office and working with Medicaid. It's more of a clinic setting. But I said, maybe I'll introduce some Medicaid to this office. So I introduced just a little bit. I wanted to do it until my practice got busy enough for the full fee-for-service practice. Introduced them. We got a lot of traction. Eventually, I built a second practice, moved all of the Medicaid to that practice. So I had a beautiful fee-for-service practice, beautiful Medicaid practice. And my supply guys and equipment guys said, wow, you should do that in another location, of course, because they're going to sell more stuff. So I tried at one more location and everybody freaked out because nobody had multiple offices back then. Very, very few people did. My wife said, well, maybe a third, no more after that. But it was a smashing success. I did it for a little while. And then I had a big corporation come to me after I had 5 practices and they said, we want to buy everything you have. I had been out of school for 4 years. I said, well, I kind of have to consider it because I'm making good money, but I don't have anything in the bank. I sold everything. I moved to the rural areas because I had non-competes, close to the offices I was in. Went to the rural areas for 3, 4, 5 years, then came back to the metropolitan areas and just continue what I'm doing. So it's we've had a little bit of everything. We've had Medicaid offices, high-end fee-for-service practices. We've had a mobile unit. Had a little bit of everything.
And so you transitioned into dental brokering through your bad experience with a broker, and you're like, I can do better than this. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the truth. The very first transaction we went through was painful. The broker's a nice guy, but it was a little bit old school, and all they did was advertise back in the day. They put it on their website. And they put it in, North Carolina Dental Society. They put a few listings out there and that's it. There was no working the account. I didn't have any representation at closing. They weren't there for me at closing. I had an 8-hour closing on my first five practices. And I got beaten to death by the guy that was buying from me. I had no support, nobody holding my hand through the whole process. My attorney just came up with a closing statement, with a contract that he did the best he could, but it was not very dental specific. And I said, there's got to be something better than this. I've got 8 years of accounting and finance, and I've got dentistry behind me. I think I can put this together. I've got passion for this, and I think I can help people.
So you're still building practices. You've got 30 some odd practices. You're still building them. You start brokering practices kind of on the side as a hobby. Is that right?
Correct.
And kind of enjoying it, helping people out. And then some people come to you and say, hey, Kyle, we think you could take this to another level.
Yeah, there was a couple of young friends of mine who had a lot of energy, and they could see what I was doing just as, on the side for making a few extra bucks. They're like, we can do some good stuff with this. And I was not a big social media guy and everything, and they were. And they were big into email blasts and social media. And we built the social media followers to 40,000 followers. We are now in contact with 110,000 dentists across the country. We have 23 speaking gigs at dental schools across America this year lined up.
Wow.
And we're just in front of everybody all of the time. And we now have a Eastern European headquarters in Tirana, Albania. And I have an entire marketing team over there working everything all of the time. And
so you're one of the biggest and fastest growing brokers in the country now.
100%.
So let's talk about the state of the brokerage, dental brokerage world, because that's where everyone wants to know. We have DSOs taking over the world, and people love the DSOs, people hate the DSOs.
Right.
I was talking with someone last week on the podcast, and they said they were with the ADA transitions, and they said that currently DSOs represent only about 11% of practices, which I was surprised the number was that low. She said that obviously they're growing, but she was optimistic that they would not dominate and become more than half the market. Now, I know some people who are very skeptical, and they feel like in 10 years, a private practice will be a thing of the past. What is your opinion on what you're seeing out there? Well, when I first moved to North Carolina, there were private pharmacies everywhere. And the pharmacists had a good little gig going. They sold the drugs, but they sold greeting cards and magazines and even fountain drinks in the Carolinas. People would come for fresh squeezed lemonade, and now they're almost completely extinct. And I saw it happen in a matter of 10 years. They were gone. CVS and Walgreens, that's it. And that's right. And the individual kind of solo pharmacy, you'll see one every now and then, but they're unicorns. That's right. And the same with general physicians. How many family physicians do you see anymore? They're just not out there. They're part of a hospital group. They're owned by hospitals and universities. And yeah. So it's, I don't see that. I think it's going to be a huge part. I think right now they're buying the most profitable offices out there, the $1 million 6-operatory practices. But at some point, they're going to dial it in. They're going to get the rest of them. I really believe that. And how long do you think it's going to take for them to take the majority of the market? Do you think it's 10 years? Do you think it's 20 years? What do you think? I think it's going to be absolutely amazing what they're going to accomplish in the next 10 years, because there's not just a few big DSOs anymore. Now there are hundreds of them. They're everywhere. Well, dentists are starting their own now. They're like, if we can't beat them, let's just do our own DSO. Bueno. That's right. That's right. Which, if you hate DSOs, you're better off joining one run by dentists, because they're kind of on the same team, if you will. That's right. And most of the time, the patients can't tell the difference. That's right. I've heard stories of them ruining the name of a dentist, but you hear those stories. That's right. So let's kind of talk numbers here. So let's suppose that I'm John Doe Dentist here. Like, I literally just got a call an hour before this podcast from a client. Okay. I'm 44. I think he is probably 44 or 45. And he was approached by a broker, and he thinks that the broker thinks he can get him a really big number, and it's a big number. And I'm like, I'm personally not a big retirement guy. I think you got to be doing something. Otherwise, you're just going to die. But he said, he goes, I wanted to go 10 more years. I'm like, well, you're going to have a 5-year earn out. He's like, yeah. I was like, but with this type of number, it's worth doing maybe. I was like, well, it's always worth looking at. So when you go down this road, I mean, if I'm John Doe dentist and I've got a good practice, what's the difference in a DSO offer versus, Tim Jones coming to buy a practice from me? Walk us through the options as you're brokering a practice, what you see out there.
Well, first of all, you've got to decide whether you are even a good DSO candidate or not. The DSOs.
That's good. Talk about that.
Yeah. So it's important. The DSOs typically are looking for 6 operatories or more and $1 million worth of collections. And that's just their starting point. EBITDA is a big thing that they're looking at. They want the thing to be earning too, not just collecting and expenses going down to zero. So they need a doctor that's going to stay minimally 2 years. That's what I'm hearing. And often as many as 5 years. Their earnout it can be 5 years. They are looking for some markets, metropolitan areas that are hot right now. They don't want to be in a dying city. So there's a lot of things that they want the ability to expand too. If there's a space next door that they can bump into and make it even bigger, they love that. DSOs love that. They don't want to be hidden in an old office park, like a lot of old dentist offices were just invisible. You just had to know where to go find it. Now it's cool to be in a shopping center next to, Starbucks with a lot of roadside traffic, a lot of visibility. All of those things come into play, and lots of new patients.
So what are you seeing? Like, how realistic are dentists on the valuation of their practice? Are most people in line, or are they completely clueless?
Well, the older dentists keep coming up to me and telling me that it's the average of their last 3 years of collections, and that's what it's based on. And really, that can't be further from the truth anymore. Now the banks want to know, what have you done for me lately? What have you done in the last 12 months? If 2 years ago you were killing it, now you've decided to take Friday off. Now you're taking Thursday off. Now you're Wednesday, you're working a half day. The numbers are dying. It looks like a dying practice. The banks are going to have a really, really difficult time discerning the difference between the doctor taking time off and just the practice dying altogether, So it's, that's the kind of stuff I'm seeing.
Is there a typical multiple of EBITDA that you're seeing that they want?
For the DSOs, I'm seeing anywhere from 3 to 10 times EBITDA. And that depends on how many locations, what their EBITDA is. It depends on the number of patients, how badly they want that market. Right now, I'm working on one in Tennessee that I'm going for 10 times. And these people have not been out of school that long, and they've got a couple practices that are doing really, really well, and they're going to be set for life. So to me, when the market is as hot as it is right now, if you can make $30 million when you haven't even been out of school 10 years, why not? It doesn't mean you have to stop working. You have to earn some of that out anyway. You're going to have to be spending 2 to 3 to 4 years there maybe. And you don't even have to do dentistry. Not everybody wants to do dentistry their whole life. Some people get into it and they go, I'm not sure I want to do that. So I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now. I love dentistry. I had a lot of passion for it, but I like this even better because I can do this sitting in Colombia, South America, somewhere on a beautiful balcony overlooking the water, and or anywhere I got Wi-Fi, I can do it. So it's using all the knowledge I got from all of the years, spending time in continuing education courses, working with my staff, working with other doctors. We still get to use all that information. It's not the end of the road if you don't want to.
How much of this is interest rate driven by private equity? So companies, investors are starving for yield with super low interest rates. If rates go up this year, like they're allegedly going to, and if they continue to go up, will that slow down the DSO market?
It depends how much it go up. I imagine it will slow a little bit because the numbers are almost silly right now, what people are paying. And even individuals are paying in hot markets ridiculous prices. It's the highest I've ever seen in 18 years of doing this. It's
you wish you had your 32 practices back so you could resell them right now.
I wish I had all 36 and I would unload them right now for a ridiculous number. But my wife reminds me that if you had it unloaded a few every year, I'd unload 1 or 2 or 3. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have gotten to enjoy it all along, And here I am. I'm going to turn 60 this year, but I've been doing this for a long time. I haven't worked on a patient in 3 years at least. And I don't really want to. I miss the patients as people, but I don't miss doing composite fillings and, crowns.
So I've probably said this 100 times. I work with dentists all day, every day. I've got, clients all over the country as a financial advisor. And I see 2 extremes. I see the dentist who owns a job, makes, probably $250 to $350. It's a good job, but it's a job. And then you have the opposite end. You have a business owner who happens to be a dentist, and I've seen them as high as $3 million in income. Now, right. I'm sure there's people with more. Obviously, the business owner who happens to be a dentist is going to sell for more to a DSO, and that's who the DSO is. That's their ideal candidate. Is that correct?
Right. That's correct. The business owner who is a dental practice owner now typically does a better job of controlling expenses, keeping the books clean, not mixing household expenses in with, the books of the company, not mixing multiple companies together, not making horrible purchase decisions. I see a lot of dentists, every time they go to a continuing education show, they come home with another $50,000, $100,000 gadget that when I go visit their offices, they're sitting in the corner. They tried them once or twice. It didn't work out. And now it's just, they've got a bunch of dirty scrubs hanging on the machine. So I just think that the dentists who were former business people, business owners, they set themselves up better when it comes time to sell to a DSO.
So if you're the dentist who owns a job, as I described, which is not a negative connotation, it's just a description. It's some people are more wired for that. Some people like that more. That's fine. Are they candidates to sell to a DSO, or are they more candidates to sell to an aspiring dentist who wants to own their own practice?
Either or. It just depends on a lot of things. There's some doctors that would say, I will never take the practice that I've built and my father and I built it together, or my brother and I built it together. We know all these families, and I'm not going to turn it over to a big DSO who's just going to run a bunch of people through there and not keep the standards of care that we had all of these years. So there's a lot of doctors that absolutely refuse.
I've heard that.
And they will tell me, no, they don't care how much they get.
I've heard people talk about it's the legacy of your practice. What do you want?
That's right.
So let's suppose, it's not the guy I was talking about who just out of blue gets an offer, or you who just got an offer out of the blue. Let's suppose someone says, hey, I'm 55 years old. I'd like to be done by 60 or 65. How many years before they, quote, retire should they get a valuation on their practice?
5 years is what I tell everybody. And the reason being, because a lot of times they think their practice is worth more than it really is. And what I suggest is people get it like an express valuation. I can talk to them for 20 minutes, look at their office, just look at some comps and tell them what their office is approximately worth. If they go, whoa, I thought it was worth a lot more than that, you've got 5 years to make some corrections. And I've got lots of ideas. If you want to talk about those things, some of the things you need to do to get your office ready to sell so that it can sell at top dollar rather than.
Well, give me a bullet point list, just kind of rapid fire. What are those things?
Well, first of all, to get your office ready, it's got to have some technology in it. Believe it or not, there are still lots and lots of doctors with dark rooms. And they've got paper charts, not digital charts. They've got maybe one computer at the front desk. They have no intraoral cameras. They have no digital sensors, nothing, really.
Wow.
The last time they rented their waiting room was somewhere in the 1980s. They've got brass fixtures everywhere. Their paintings are faded. Everything is dull. It looks like a funeral home in there. And They have 30 to 35 years worth of stacked up gadgets and pictures, and the waiting room is littered with signs that say no checks, no cell phones, no this, no that. And it's just, pamphlets everywhere. So there are things they can fix. So technology is important, cosmetic transitions, simple things like paint and flooring and LED lighting and just decorations in the waiting room. That's all inexpensive. If you don't get those things done, there's some of these practices, I can't even give them away, because the typical buyer that been out of school for 2, 3, 4 years, he looks in there and he's got a dark room. He's never developed film in his life.
Oh, wow.
He's never done a paper chart. He's never seen a paper chart. The other thing, you've got to keep your foot to the floor. You cannot coast into retirement, start taking more and more days off and telling me that the bank will understand that, they want to take more days off. We did this much 3 years ago, and now we're doing this. The bank will not understand. Hygiene production has got to be 25% or greater. It's great to keep your hygiene department just stacked full of business. Market if you need to. Bring in another hygienist if you need to. Marketing is super important. Your schedule, when they come in and look at your office and they see empty schedules and stuff, it's not going to really bode well for your sale. People are going to go, whoa, this looks scary. So keep the schedule super busy. If you've got a fee-for-service only office and it's kind of dying out and your number of new patients is 6 a month, maybe you'll want to take on a few PPOs. I know that's a bad word, and some people would rather die than do something like that. But if you want to sell your practice and get a number at the end, a good number at the end, you might have to consider doing it. Turnkey office versus renovations. People want to be able to visualize it. Like, I can come in here and do dentistry tomorrow and not have to change a thing. So that's one of the biggest things. Those are some of the biggest things I see. And also not referring out all your specialty stuff. Oh, I don't like to do endo. I don't like to do surgery. Fine. Either learn to do some of those procedures or bring in some specialists on a few days to do that in your office, so the numbers stay in your office.
Yeah, I see a lot of the real successful practices, they do most of the specialties on their own. Right. And so it's interesting you say that. So, so let's talk a little bit in the last few minutes we have here. So your firm, Encompass, you obviously broker these things. So if people want to broker their practice, they should be reaching out to you. Now, I told you earlier offline, kind of what I've seen. I've seen some unethical brokers who double dip on buyer and seller side, which you would agree that is unethical, correct?
100%.
And if you're selling to a DSO, not all the time, but some, if not many of the times, the DSO will pay the brokerage fee, correct?
The DSO will, to a point, pay the brokerage fee. And it depends on how badly they want the practice, right? So I at least try to get a couple of points. If I'm charging 5%, if I can get the DSO to pay 2 or 3%, that's amazing. If they want it, they'll pay the whole 5%. If they want it bad enough, especially if you've got 8 DSOs, like we've got right now on a Tennessee practice, 8 people, 8 different groups looking at the same one, they all want it, I think they're going to pay the whole thing. So hot markets, Charleston, South Carolina, Dallas, Texas, Charlotte, Raleigh. There's some areas that are so hot that the DSOs are killing it right now.
So what is the standard brokerage fee?
Standard brokerage fee, old school, is 10%. They'd say 10%. But for me, it depends on a lot of things. It's anywhere from 5 to 10%. And that it's easier for me to sell, believe it or not, a $2 million practice than to sell a $600,000 practice. A $600,000 practice at this point, if they've got an associate working in there, is making almost nothing. Okay. And the banks don't want to lend on that because it assumes unless you grow the practice, the doctor working there won't make anything. A $2 million practice is typically making, $600,000 per year. It's easier for me to sell that. And in hot markets, it makes it even easier. So I can reduce my fees down to closer to 5% for the stuff that's going to go quickly. If it's a practice producing 300,000 and it's in a rural area and they're only open 2 days a week, it's going to last a long time. I'm going to have it listed for a long time, and it's going to be a 10%er.
So tell us a little bit about what differentiates Encompass versus the typical broker.
I think the difference with Encompass is, bar none, there's nobody that can keep up with the amount of marketing we do. This Albanian marketing group has been the best thing I've ever done. I was there. My friend's got a film company in Tirana. I was there visiting, and they shot a travel documentary with me in it this past year. And I got to know a bunch of guys there graduating from school, and the average Albanian makes, I think, $8,000 a year after college.
Oh my gosh.
They speak 3 or 4 languages. Their English is amazing, and they're very, very hungry. They actually want to work. So I put a few ads over there, and I got dozens and dozens of really good applications, highly energetic people. I developed a team, and I actually have a headquarters in Tirana, in the capital city, and they work the marketing more than anything I've ever seen before. We're in touch with 110,000 dentists nationwide on email blasts. We got 40,000 followers on social media. Like I said before, we're speaking to 23 dental schools across the country. We get in front of dental groups all the time. We do whatever it takes to be seen. And we do video. We do informational video. We do silly videos, but we just have fun. That's great.
That's just fantastic. And so you're marketing this thing nationwide, dare I say worldwide. And you've done this, quite frankly, more times personally as the owner than most brokers have actually done themselves. In addition to that, you've done it as a broker, however many times, a lot over, and you have an inside understanding of the industry because you've been in it for so long and you're a dentist and you understand the ins and outs.
Well, and I think one of the biggest things is this whole company was designed around dentists helping dentists, not an attorney, not an accountant. Not to say that those guys can't come up with beautiful valuations and they sell the practice, but we are intimately involved with all of the equipment, with all of the knowledge. I can walk into an office in 5 minutes. I know all of the equipment. I've had it all before. In 36 practices, I've had every dental chair, every piece of equipment ever out there. And my brokers are dentists, and some of my brokers are dentists where we sold their practice. Then they came in. They came into our
wow,
and they make the very best brokers, right? Because they said Encompass took good care of us, and now I'm here to do the same for you guys. So
that's fantastic. So if someone's like, "Hey, I'm considering selling my practice," I like what Kyle's saying. How should they get in touch with you? How can they get in touch with you?
Well, there's a lot of different ways.
Give us every single way. Give us all. Let them all.
Well, we are on Instagram. We are on LinkedIn. We are on Facebook. I've got a website, and I've sent that all to you. I don't know if it'll be posted here at some point in time.
No, we'll put it in the show notes, but I want you to say it out loud. Give them your phone number, email address, so they can hear it, write it down when they listen to this.
I'm going to say my phone number. If you want to reach me, it's 919-395-0444.
Say it again.
And okay, 919-395-0444.
Perfect.
Okay. And it's www.encompass-ihc.com. IHC is integrated healthcare.com. But at the end, you'll have some notes up there that'll tell we've got everything every way. Instagram is the way people reach me most because we have a lot of followers on there. They're very active. We've actually got 4,000 dental students on there, even following us. And it's very, very, very active. And it's the reach that we have now is incredible.
That's fantastic.
Very exciting.
That's really, really cool. So hey guys, if you're in the market to sell your practice, which everyone is at some point, Kyle is definitely one of the top guys in the country that you should be talking to. Kyle, we're out of time, but it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It's been absolutely fascinating. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys, you've been listening to Financial Flossing Podcast with Ross Brannon. So tune in next week when we come back again.
This has been another episode of Financial Flossing with Ross Brannon, guiding dental professionals to a brighter future. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. For more on Ross Brannon, visit rossbrannon.com.
Registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS, OSJ, 3664 Coolidge Court, Tallahassee, Florida, 32311, 850-562-9075. Securities products and advisory services offered through PAS, member FINRA SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. North Florida Financial is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. California Insurance License Number 0L10073. Arkansas Insurance License Number 161-39032. 2021 119535. Expires 423. That last part can also say 2021 119535, expiration April 2023.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by PAS, Guardian, or North Florida Financial, and opinions stated are their own. Ross is a registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS, OSJ, 3664 Coolidge Court, Tallahassee, Florida, 32311, 850-562-9075. Securities products and advisory services offered through PAS, member FINRA SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. North Florida Financial is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. Arkansas Insurance License Number 161-39032. California Insurance License Number 0L10073. 2022 133890, expiration 0224.